You know the time though?
Yeah. I've got
Okay.
my birth certificate. And I've
Yes.
got Jill's too.
Right. Whose?
My twin sister Jill.
Whoa, what if can we do, oh my God.
I have both our
Can
times. I
we
thought you
do
might
her
ask.
chart?
That would
Jack,
be
I just got
cool.
chills.
Yeah. It is pretty chilly.
Do you, Jenna, you know the story?
No.
Oh God. Should we
I
just
know
not
nothing.
tell her and we started recording, right? So
Yeah.
welcome.
Well, it's nice to be here, whatever this show is called and whatever we're going to talk about, because I
Well,
have
we
no
still don't
idea.
have a name.
It's very, very vague.
Reckoning with the Primal Wound.
Autumn's just like, hey, Jack, you want to do the podcast? I'm like, yeah, sure. That's as far as it got, right?
Yes. And now here we are. But you have been rolling out your own show.
We've got 5 episodes up and running right now. I'm Paul Fronczak. I was that baby.
And I'm Tracy Hastings. This season of Fronczak Files will take you on a journey, following the twists and turns of Paul's story.
Many of you may have heard my story on other podcasts or other TV shows and things like that. But at the end of the day, you really don't know Jack. Welcome to the Fronczak Files. Available where all podcasts are listened to, as well as YouTube. Just go to the Fronczak Files.
How is it going? What feedback are you getting?
Well, we've just been up for a little bit. We have over 1,000 subscribers already on YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm very happy. I wanted to tell the story, the real story, because the documentary was kind of candy coated. They didn't want anything really dark. And I'm tired of seeing other podcasters. I've seen like at least 100, maybe more people that have done my story. I mean, they're good, but the facts aren't right. They don't have the inside story. I wanted to capture how it affected those around the story, not just the main characters, the human element, and also get down to what really happened.
I got to catch up on it. I'm sorry that I haven't yet.
Well,
But
you're a world traveler. You don't have time for that.
I have seriously not settled back from Greece. It's taking me forever, everything.
bet.
Jenna and I met in Greece.
That's the only thing she did. Yeah.
Yeah. Which
That was
was
our only
also very mystical. And so this podcast, what we talk about is kind of the mystical realm of storytelling. And with adoption and all the unknowns, it's been fascinating for me. I'm like gaining so many insights by having Jenna like do the chart readings, because now we've done so many and you can do a chart reading on anything. So this is really exciting. And the fact that Jenna doesn't know your story.
Coming in
How
blind.
do we do this? Should we just keep going with like your time of birth and everything so she can input it?
October 27th.
Yes. 1963.
What time?
I was born at 10:46 a.m.
All right. And what town?
Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Have you ever seen your natal chart before?
Don't know. A friend of mine did some kind of chart that I have for Jack Thomas Rosenthal in the back there. It's like 10 pages, but I really haven't. I like the way it looks, so I put it up there.
Did it look anything like this?
It does. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Actually.
Then we're on the right track.
So is this what you do?
Yeah.
Jenna?
It's I work in the adoption world with Ostrich that I mentioned before as like a course assistant and another consultant within Adoption Mosaic. Then we serve everyone within the adoption constellation. So adoptees, adoptive parents, and birth parents. Aside from that, I also am an astrologer. I'm trained in evolutionary astrology, which it builds upon traditional and Hellenistic astrology and blends in psychology. So it takes a really modern approach to it. It does also have like kind of an assumption of past lives and reincarnation. However, when that doesn't resonate with a client or somebody, we can talk about like ancestral wounds or familial trauma or cultural conditioning. A lot of times what we see in the chart reverberates through to the early childhood. So I'll be telling someone their past life story and they're like, no, actually that's this life. And it's like, yeah, sometimes to get those messages really honed in, it will echo forward just to reiterate what had happened and what your soul is here to really reconcile and solve.
I like that. I like the way that sounds.
Yeah, it's a really empowering kind of astrology. Sometimes traditional astrology can be kind of negative. It's like, oh, Capricorn, how sad and, depressing, and those people are pessimistic. But it's like, no, they're hardworking people who are determined and tend to be really elders, and naturally have kind of an elder vibe to them. Like, we don't always have to look at it as like this gloom and doom way that sometimes traditional astrology can inadvertently lead us into.
Okay.
So you probably know you're a Scorpio sun. That's not new news.
I know I'm a Scorpio.
Yep, that's what that means. It's your sun sign. And most people know their sun sign because it's pretty consistent year to year. However, it really is only about 10% of your chart, which is a significant portion when you think about it. It's the most significant portion of a chart would be the zodiac sign of the sun because it's the most significant body in the sky. However, there's so many other things that we can look at, which is why there's not just 12 types of people on earth. There's, as many people as there are. We're all unique individuals. And the natal chart really gives us like a map of your soul and your soul's evolutionary purpose in this lifetime. So when we look at the sun, what we're saying is that's like what embodies you. The sun is really like how you shine your light out into the world. The sun also is kind of like the key to our sanity. When we're being true to our sun, it makes us feel sane. It makes us feel grounded. It makes us feel like we have a place in the world. So to have a sun in Scorpio in a really prominent placement in the 10th house, that means when you were born, the sun was actually up in the sky, really pretty prominently placed. It was getting close to the midheaven, which is the highest point of the day. So very visible, 10th house. That has to do with mission in life, your public image. And it means we can say career too, but mission really in a broader sense of the world, because sometimes your career doesn't really align with what you're truly here to do. And then we know Scorpio, so we know very intense, analytical, psychoanalytical person, able to go really into like the depths or the dark places, maybe taboo or occult topics, entertaining those kind of things, more so than your average person. Like you have a more availability to go into really potentially dark places, dark conversations, but with the intensity that's needed in those areas. What we also see with Scorpios is like, for instance, if you have a friend who's in crisis, the person they tend to come to is someone with a heavy amount of Scorpio, because that person can hold steadfast in the kind of realm of really intense topics. So if you have a friend who got a really, really bad news from the doctor or something and they come to you, you're not going to turn into like a puddle and be like, what are we going to do? You're going to hold still and kind of be that rock and that support. You just have that available energy within you to hold space within intensity. And we also see that right next to your sun is Mercury, which means in the sky at the moment of your birth, Mercury and the sun were coming close to each other. Your Mercury being in the sign, the ending degrees of the sign Libra, your sun being in the early degrees of Scorpio, to say that you're a person who can think really analytically about really intense topics and do so in a public kind of arena or a public atmosphere. Does that resonate?
Yeah, and it was pretty easy too.
Cause oh, like it was easy for you to manifest those?
Yeah, and just to do it, right, Autumn?
Yeah, I'm just over here like, oh my gosh, this is spot on. I don't know how we should do this. If you should tell your story in like a brief way, or if we don't and just like keep going, or I'm just super interested in Jill's chart.
I
Let's
mean,
keep
I'm
going.
assuming you're an adoptee. That's as far as I've gotten. Is that
I could be.
you could be? All right, well, we'll leave it at that.
No
Okay, so
spoilers.
Yeah, because
the
you can do this like evolutionary astrology thing. So what are
yeah.
you gonna do? Can you tell us, break it down? Still, it's way over my head, everything you're saying, and I don't remember it. So how do we do this in a way that's like,
Okay, so I was trained by Stephen Forrest, and he always talks about like take a very structured approach to things. And in the beginning, especially with someone newer to astrology, you kind of want to win them over, so to speak. So you go into it with like the big three, the primal triad, which is you talk about their sun, then you talk about their moon, and then you talk about the rising sign. Those are the three most, if we were to label three things as the most important, those are the three most important things in astrology. We have the key to your sanity, the moon representing the emotional body. That's like the key to your happiness, your soul, what you unveil when you're really close with somebody. And then your rising sign is kind of like the stained glass with which you see the world. So it's where your inner world meets your outer world, but it's also can be described as like your social affect, how you come across. So like yours being Sagittarius, people are like, oh, you probably come across as like a philosophical type of person, or a very learned, someone who's had a lot of experiences, potentially cross-cultural experiences through your life. Like there's Sagittarius is also about seeking that deeper meaning in life. So there might be something within you where even within your experiences, you kind of naturally look for what is the meaning behind this? What can we actually take from this experience and put forth in a way that actually brings either yourself or society or the people you care about to a, I'm guessing it's very concerned with the good of people and the good of society as a whole, because you have so much in your 10th and 11th house, but bringing that forward and presenting it to the world in a way that adds depth and meaning to your different, experiences, situations, interactions. The moon over here, this is a very interesting placement because it just lines up with Autumn's placement. Autumn also has her moon in the second house. When we're talking about the
I
moon,
knew it.
Our birthdays are like one day apart.
Yeah.
Is that
well,
that's
that'll be
nothing to
different
do with
every
it.
year. And it's nice because your sun, Jack, it trines your moon. So there's this natural harmonious angle between them. But your moon in the second house, we're talking about the second house is the house of personal resources, like my thing. So we can be talking about resources in the form of like money and housing and safety and security. But we're also talking about internal resources. So self-confidence, self-worth. So when we're talking about the moon in the second house, we say the sole intention here is learning to feel worthy and legitimate via some sort of meaningful attainments, whether it's attainments of your character, attainments of property, things that you have. That's generally more of a lower expression, people that hoard items or material things. However, it's about legitimizing yourself so that you feel worthy. You're proving to yourself that you're enough. The thing is, a lot of times Aquarius is ahead of its time. So it'll present an idea or do something, whether it's an Aquarius moon or just Aquarius energy in general, and people don't really understand it. And they'll be like, well, this doesn't make any sense. And that seems way too outlandish. I like the example of Muhammad Ali for this. He has a lot of Aquarius in his chart. And when he originally refused to join the Vietnam War, he was stripped of his titles. He was called a criminal. People didn't understand it. He got blacklisted. That is that criminal type energy that Aquarius can kind of be labeled as. But as time went on and people kind of saw the truth, they were like, wait a minute, he actually was a revolutionary, and they can see the merit in it. The thing with the evolutionary goal of an Aquarius moon in that second house is Aquarius is all about individuation, gathering experiences that kind of challenge the consensual reality of humanity. So there's this mood of always kind of questioning things, wanting to take your own independent like inquiry into stuff.
I don't want the show to be just another audiobook, spitting out facts about what happened. The story was very tragic, and people know that. But what they don't know is what really happened behind the scenes. How did it affect people? How did people feel? What, like my parents, when they went through this, what do you think is going through someone's mind? All those things you can't get with just the facts.
There's a need to really be free in your thoughts and free in your actions. And in order to feel that second house self-worth, you really need to do things in your own way, in a way that is truly authentic to who you are. You're going to feel into this individuation kind of naturally. And as you individuate and really learn and feed your soul in that way, it propels that Scorpio nature forward too, because you're always kind of ready to go to the next level of things. Anything that feels new and like a new frontier or a new adventure or something that you can gain more perspective. That's really what Sagittarius really yearns for there. What we really look to in evolutionary astrology, in addition to the natal chart, in addition to all these natal placements, is called the chart behind the chart. And that's where we're looking at that past life, or the energy that you came in with, the energy
Yeah,
that you
that's what I want to know.
I thought so. So what we're looking at there is the nodes of the moon. And the reason every planet has nodes, a quick explanation of what that is you have the Earth revolving around the sun. It's kind of like a plane, like a two-dimensional plane where the Earth revolves around the sun. Well, where the moon revolves around the Earth is another two-dimensional plane. And where those intersect, where the moon intersects and kind of goes below, and then when the moon comes back up again and goes above that plane of us orbiting around the sun, those points are called the nodes, the north node and the south node. Now, every planet has that because they all have their own orbits up in 3D space, 4D, whatever D, science figures out. But the point is that the only thing that really lasts through reincarnation, it's not, for instance, a mercurial memory. You're not actually remembering details and people's names and stuff from past lives. No, the only thing that passes through is this emotional imprint, the feelings and the leftover habits of the past life. So to look at the south node of the moon right here in Capricorn in the first house, what we can say is that in a past life you probably were in a place of leadership. With the first house, we're talking about that vital energy. It's traditionally ruled by Aries, well, the natural home of Aries, ruled by Mars. It's this vitality, this fighter, this warrior energy, but it's always kind of like at the head of the pack. So when we look at a first house south node, we know that in a past life, those were the circumstances that you were in. You were in this position where you were somewhat on your own, but on your own in the form of leadership. And then it's in the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn, we talked about that a little bit earlier. That's that elder vibe. Capricorn also can be more of a hermit off to itself. It has a ton of discipline, a ton of integrity. It really is good at doing the things that you don't feel like doing. Unreconciled energy that you're here now to reincorporate into your soul, into your being, so that you can progress and evolve and move forward. So in this past life, within this role, within this leadership, there was something that went wrong. You were doing everything that you could do, and at one point you took a wrong turn. And this Jupiter represents that wrong turn. And it's something that in this life you have to come back, reinvestigate whatever it was that Jupiter represents. And that is how you move forward and move into this remedy situation of this north node. However, that does come up for you in this life. It's all about making sure that this is going to be something that this healing journey is going to be something that probably happens in the context of a relationship. It doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic partnership, just any sort of partnership where you and the other person are on equal footing. Both of you are benefiting from this interaction. You're focusing on your own healing first and what's bringing you the most, soul level happiness, what's elevating you in those ways. So there's a big call in your chart to lean into that holding space for self. The baseline that we want to get to in this lifetime is being able to heal in the context of relationships.
Okay.
So how did that feel?
It's a lot of stuff.
I know, right? It's cool though.
Well, can we do Jill's? Can we
You
do
want to
Jill's
just do
one?
Jill? Yes. I didn't know if we should.
Who's Jill?
Yes. Okay.
Jill's my twin sister.
Your twin. Okay, so you're gonna have similar charts.
Yeah. She was born at 10:32.
She's your older sister?
14 minutes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I want to toggle back and forth and see what exactly changes.
Yeah, what changed? It did change though.
It changed a tiny bit. A lot of times with twins, especially when they're born really close to each other, usually if twins did grow up together, which is the case that we normally do see, one twin tends to take over part of the chart and the other twin more exhibits the other side of things. So that can be an interesting note. So Jill was born first and then you, and I'm going to do this for a second as I'm just trying to note what switching house is.
Have you ever done this before, Jack?
No, I haven't.
How do you feel?
Interesting. It's very interesting.
Most notably, I would say, is your Chiron placement moves from the second house into the third house. So your Chiron is one of my favorite things ever. It's the wounded healer, and it represents an area that we come in with a wound, and we spend basically the first 50-ish years of our life experiencing this wound, identifying this wound, trying our best to remedy this wound once it's been identified. However, at age 51, because it has a 51-year cycle, Chiron in the sky comes right back around to where it was when we were born, and it's called the Chiron return. And basically that wound is kind of opened up, and it can come back into the light, and then we're like, well, how well have we done at healing this wound? Because once that wound is healed, you kind of naturally start showing other people how they would heal a similar wound. So a Chiron Pisces wound in the second house. We talked about the second house having to do with that personal resource. So having a wound in the second house, it means there's a wounding around self-empowerment. There's a wounding around self-worth. There's a wounding around feeling good enough. Pisces being such a sensitive water sign, it can almost feel like there's visions or messages or just kind of intrinsic knowing. It's such a psychic and mystical sign. It's almost like you have an inner knowing where you're questioning your self-worth. However, all of that is based on this wounding, and in order to move through that, we need to address it and really challenge that Chiron. We see in your chart that Chiron is opposed by Pluto. That is a really tough, because Pluto, also the god of hell, represents another type of wounding that we come in with. Pluto opposite Chiron basically means that there's going to be this really intense friction, tension between your individuation path that involves transforming, really digging into this wounded part of yourself and seeing kind of like a death and rebirth of self over the years. It's in Virgo, which tells us this could be very critical. You could be potentially, I like to think of it as, my friend calls it, the divine discontent. Like, you can always see where something can be a little bit better here, but the point isn't to become pessimistic or overly analytical or really down on yourself. The point here is that you kind of have this insight in order to see where things could be just a little bit better, and move through that transformation in these ways that kind of just tweak things just a little bit. And with your honest there too, it's like you see where things can be a little bit better, but in this very innovative way. And to have that opposite your Chiron, it's almost like it's saying, when you have these insights, well, are you going to believe in yourself enough to bring them out into the world? That's where the challenge kind of comes in there. And then when we look at Jill's chart, she still has the opposition, but it just shifts these houses a little bit, because the house, as the sun was rising, how many minutes later? The 14 minutes later, the houses change. So the houses represent the area of life. So her wound here comes into the third house now, which is the house of communication. It also, everything is divided into 12 houses. So these houses are going to be pretty vast in what they contain. It's notable, though, that the third house is also the house of siblings. So there can be a wound in sibling relationship. It's also short trips, travel, and then we talked about communication and stuff like that. Sometimes we see Chiron wounds in the third house, or wounding in the third house in general, come across as someone who feels either stunted in their ability to communicate or consistently misunderstood about something. That's where that wound moves and differentiates between your chart. Instead of having self-worth implications and scarcity implications, it moves over here into, does anyone truly understand what I'm saying? Am I able to express myself clearly? Do I feel connected to particularly siblings, but just people in general in a closer context? That is one way this can all play out. And then the only other planet that I saw jumping pretty vastly, Jill's, actually, we would push it forward into the 9th house. So her path of individuation has a lot to do with the way she perceives the world, the way she understands the world, the way she kind of learns something, has an experience over here, brings them all together and comes to some sort of thematic conclusion. She has a very unique way of understanding philosophically all of the things around her, a unique way of putting together different inputs and coming to a conclusion. Your Uranus being in the 8th house, the 8th house is concerned with all those Scorpio themes, intensity, the occult, deep psychological wounding. So your individuation has to do with exploring these kind of deep, dark areas and understanding them in this really revolutionary way, able to bring that information forward and add that ingenious side of things to that dark shadow realm of the world.
Hmm.
I'm interested to know the story now.
I know, I think we should tell her. Is there anything you can see about Jill's past life that's interesting without going through everything, like
Both of you having these similar stories. However, remember when I was talking about the communication and kind of like the illusion of clarity, and perhaps you underestimate your own ability to communicate clearly, your own ability to use communication to connect. Like, you might be aware that you're highly communicable. However, it's even stronger than you can realize. Jupiter signifies a place where we underestimate ourselves. For her to come in and also have Chiron there, though, it implies that like her wounding in this area is a little bit more, you are taking this wound and incorporating it into your sense of self-worth. She has this wound and is almost saying like, this is not available to me in the same way that it is to other people. She hasn't internalized the wound to the same way. However, she's potentially putting limitations on her. We're talking about all things with the mind and all things with communication. Maybe she doubts her intelligence. Maybe she doubts her effectiveness in communication more so than the average person, just with Jupiter in the third. Those are the kind of little shifts that we'll see within charts when it's just one or two planets.
what about
Yeah.
twins? Like, can you see any what is the deal with twins? Is there some mystical thing with like are they really connected,
I mean,
mystic
yeah, I mean, I think so. I have a fellow astrologer friend who's a twin, and her twin sister's charts are almost exactly the same, just like this, but they are just completely different people. However, when one of like they have North Node in Pisces, which is another water sign, and my friend experiences it in this very mystical way, whereas her twin experiences it in kind of a less mystical way, but more in like this compassionate, loving way, which is another side of Pisces, the mysticism of Pisces, that one consciousness universe, like that meditative Om quality of Pisces. That's just not the way her twin embodies that energy. However, it's still very Piscean when her twin has these activations too.
Yeah, they're totally different people, but like they're connected. And so
Yeah.
I don't know where to go with this. It might be fascinating though to if is there anything else you can see from or are you getting any
I want to,
downloads from the charts before we have to tell you the story.
I know, I'm dying for the story. One
Well,
planet
it's
that
unbelievable. The story's unbelievable. Speaking of unbelievable stories, we're going to interrupt this fascinating journey with Jack and Jenna to do not an ad because it's not an ad, but we need to do some sort of a break. So it's a review break of another unbelievable story, and that is Diana Hochberg's book, Connected, Finding My Truth. I was on vacation at the beach last week, so I got to read a bunch of it. And I kept telling Steven about it. I was just like, you're not going to believe this story. And then I feel like it's on par with how completely unbelievable Jack's story is, which you'll hear now. So if you want more of that, like unbelievable stories about adoptees, you've got to read this book. And I really need to do my nails, but don't look at my nails. Look at Diana's mom. Wait, is that a spoiler? No, that's Donna. This is the Donna Project, and it's fascinating. Please read it. She's on a mini book tour right now. So if she's doing a reading in your area, please go see, support. This is not an ad. I just wanted to do it because it's fun. And I love Diana. So let's get back to this unbelievable story. If you don't know Paul Fronczak's story, get ready for it because here it comes. And watch the movie, watch the YouTube series. There's another episode of it coming out tomorrow, so you can catch up. because I'm going to release this today before it comes out.
I'm excited. I hope it's not horrible, but I mean, maybe it is. The one additional object that I really enjoy looking at in these kind of charts is this asteroid Ceres. The one word that this asteroid is, if we had to just put it in one word, it's abandonment. So of course, when we talk about adoptees and we talk about early childhood trauma and relinquishment and separations and trafficking, like abandonment is going to come up. So to see Ceres in your chart and Jill's chart, because it's not going to move that fast, right here, we see Mercury in Libra. So we're talking about Mercury can also be very childlike, and it can have to do with siblings. It naturally occurs in the third house. So starting this stellium, a stellium is like a cluster of 3 or more planets. Starting this stellium, we have communicative Mercury. Then we have your vitality coming up. Then right after we're talking and communicating and thinking, and we're feeling our energy and we're feeling great out in the world, then there's this severance. There's an abandonment that comes right after that. Right after that abandonment comes Neptune. Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces. Neptune is dissolving. Neptune makes us feel potentially like we don't exist. Neptune can be very escapist. Neptune is sometimes people with a lot of strong Pisces or a really strong Neptune placement, the world just feels too much and they can escape into things like addiction. That's all very Neptunian realms. However, there's also the higher expressions of Neptune where you find that spiritual oneness, you feel into, and I don't mean religion, it's not religion. It's feeling into a purpose, a meaning that makes you feel connected and in this space of love with everything around you. And then right after Neptune, we have Venus. Venus is traditionally the god of love. However, Venus is about more than just these loving, attaching, affectionate relationships. Venus is also about restoring us to balance, restoring that equilibrium. So it kind of works like a story where it's like we have these two twins, we have this vitality. If there was some level of like abandonment where there was this loss of self, loss of identity, loss of place in the world, and what is the final piece of this stellium? We have Venus here returning us to equilibrium, returning us to balance. And what is this all going through? This is all this very scorpionic energy, this very intense psychoanalytical, staring into the dark places, really holding that eye contact and really not even blinking, like really interacting in the shadow realm. And to see the final placement, it's a bit after, so we wouldn't consider it part of the stellium. However, it is, I want to make sure this is the same in your chart too. Yeah, we'd keep both of them in the 11th house. The courage and the 11th house, where we see Mars, we're talking about the development of courage to expand, the development of courage where you want to go out in the world and seek meaning and seek experiences in this long-term goals. It's almost like the courage to go out and engage in the sea of faces, the courage to go out and re-engage once more in finding meaning within human relationships, within society. So to think about that piece of a story that could potentially have something to do with adoption or abandonment or trafficking, like that feels very like it could be autobiographical, but you'll have to.
That's kind of hopeful, right? How do you feel?
I love Autumn's commentary.
Oh gosh, I'm scared to know what the story is now.
I thought you knew it. That's why we should have done a pre.
Yeah.
But I think this is better actually, because anybody watching this that doesn't know Jack's story, once upon a time, a little boy was born in a hospital.
Kind of like a grim fairy tale. I can just give you kind of like a Cliff Note version because it's a pretty.
And not do I'll just do the teleplay.
Yeah, so basically in 1964, Mrs. Fronczak had a baby in Michael Reese Hospital in Chicago. He was born on April 26th. On April 27th, she was feeding the baby. A nurse came in and said the doctor had to see the baby for more tests. So Mrs. Fronczak handed the baby over. The nurse took the baby, walked out of that room, went out and down some back stairs, jumped in a cab, and kidnapped that baby. Vanished without a trace. It set off one of the largest manhunts in Chicago. I think it's one of the biggest kidnappings next to the Lindbergh baby. So the baby was gone. And this set off, like I said, a major manhunt. They had 10,000 letter carriers knocking on doors trying to find this baby. The police, the FBI, everyone was trying to find this baby. They couldn't find the baby. So Mrs. Fronczak stayed in the hospital for about another 10 days. And then finally, she had to go home. So her and her husband, Chester Fronczak, they went home. FBI stayed with them because they kept thinking you'll get a ransom call or something. That baby's got to turn up. I forgot to mention. So when the baby was kidnapped, the hospital didn't even tell Mrs. Fronczak. They thought the baby would just turn up.
Yeah, I
Baby
was
was
gonna say
kidnapped.
that part.
Yeah, the baby was kidnapped at 10 a.m. They didn't notify them until 3 in the afternoon.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And they called my dad at work and said, your baby's gone. You need to come and tell your wife.
Oh, that's how
How
they just
shitty is
kept
that?
telling her, "The doctor still has the baby. We're
Yeah,
just measuring it still 5 hours later."
they had an intern nurse do all the classes and stuff with Mrs. Franzen, just like business as usual. They told that intern nurse, do not tell her that the baby's gone. Just act like everything's fine. And that poor intern, that nurse, she had to live with that her whole life.
Mm.
It's crazy. So fast forward, it happened in 1964.
Mhm.
In July 2nd of 1965, I was found abandoned in Newark, New Jersey, outside of a McCrory's variety store. I was in a brand new stroller, brand new clothes, had a nice black eye, and I had a cold or something. I wasn't totally healthy.
Mm.
I was placed in this system. I put in with the foster family. I was named Scott McKinley. I was baptized Scott, and this family wanted to adopt me. After a year with them, the FBI showed up and said, "That's the kidnapped child from Chicago." So they told the Fronczaks the same thing. They had to drive to New Jersey. They spent 5 minutes with me, and they said, "Oh my God, that's our kidnapped child." They
Well,
hadn't seen this baby for over 2 years,
with the cameras rolling, right?
with the cameras
Live.
rolling and the whole world watching. Yeah, like my mom said, she could have said, "I'm not really sure." Had me go back into the system and always wonder what would happen to me, or she could say, "That's my son," because I very well could have been. And so that's what she did. Because the FBI was telling them, "This is your kidnapped child,"
Mhm.
you
And
know?
it's the FBI, and they acted like they could tell, like, even though there was no DNA or anything back then.
It's the shape of my ear.
Yes.
Out of 10,000 boys, they couldn't rule me out 100%. But because they couldn't prove it medically, the Fronczaks had to adopt me. So first
Wow.
out, first I was abandoned. I was a foundling,
Yep.
and then I became adopted.
Yep.
So
But
I'm living with the Fronczaks, and
Yep.
I never liked being called Paul. It's never felt right to me. I don't like that name. I mean, no offense to any Pauls out there. I'm sure it's a great name for you. It just wasn't my name. And so finally, and I had my daughter in 2009. Doctors always ask you, what's your medical history? And I always spotted off what I thought it was. And I started thinking, am I doing a disservice to my daughter? I don't really know if I'm this guy, Paul. I don't feel like a Paul. I look nothing like my family.
if you had a brother, like, your mom had just had a baby when you
Yeah.
came into the picture, right?
Yeah. And he looked exactly like my dad. Exactly. I look like neither.
Mm.
So finally in 2012, I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to get a DNA test with my parents. I joked about it with my wife for years. They'd come and visit. We'd get hairs off the pillows and thought, this is it. We're going to mail this in. But they didn't have anything available back then, you know? And then one day in 2012, I was walking through a drugstore and I saw an identigene paternity test. I thought, that's it. I have a way to actually find out for sure now. So I bought the kit and my parents come out to visit because they wanted to see, my daughter, their granddaughter. So when they were here, right before I was going to take them to the airport to go back to Chicago, I said, "Hey, did you ever really wonder if I was your child?" Like my wife said, it's like I was going to order a pizza. That's how I just said it so nonchalantly. And they said, "Yeah, we wondered." I said, "What if we had a way to find out for sure if I'm really Paul? Would you guys be up for it?" My mom's like, "Possibly." I said, "Hold on." I ran and got the kit, brought it out. Within 5 minutes, we're all swabbing away. And I'm so happy inside. I'm like, this is it. I'm finally going to know for sure. Am I this kidnapped child? Because everything inside me was saying no. So we pack it up. I take them to the airport. They didn't say a word to me. I think they were just starting to realize the gravity of what happened.
Mhm.
They got back to Chicago. They called me and they said, "Do not mail that in. You're our son. We don't want to know." I'm like, "Okay, okay." But in my mind, I'm like, it's a done deal. How can you come that close to the truth and just go, you know what? I'll just forget about that and put it on a shelf. I couldn't do it. So I waited about a week. I kept passing it, because I didn't want to upset my parents, but I really wanted to know the truth. So I mailed it off. Got the results. I mailed it off in July. We got the results in October.
Birthday month.
It took a little bit longer back then.
Mm.
But the guy calls me and says, there's no remote possibility that Dora and Chester are your parents.
Oh my
So
God.
I thought the only thought I had was I want to find their kidnapped child.
Mm.
They gave me a great life. I want to find their kidnapped child. I thought it'd be easy. That's how naive I was. I thought I'll put an ad out. We'll find this guy. It'll be perfect, right? I mean, not to mention it's been 50 years. So I reached out to George Knapp out here. I'm an X-Files guy. Roswell. I have books all over this stuff. I got X-File tattoos. George Knapp is the one who broke Area 51 out here. So I contacted him and he said, "Yeah, let's do this. I want to know more about this." We put together a story and it went international. I mean, we had every network calling us. I went to New York. I met with every single TV station. They all wanted to do my story. We decided to go with Barbara Walters because Barbara Walters was super nice to my daughter. The whole time that we were there, she had my daughter on her lap. It was just great. So I did two 2020s with her, trying to cast a wide net to find clues and leads and tips on trying to find the real Paul. Meanwhile, Cece Moore, the greatest genetic genealogist out there, reached out to me. She wanted to help me find out who I was.
Mhm.
And we started that in 2013. I didn't find my true identity till 2015. It took 2 years. Find out who I was. I'm actually Jack Thomas Rosenthal from Atlantic City. And just as Cece Moore told me that, and I was like, yeah, I feel like a Jack. A Jack's a good name. She said, but there's more. You've got a twin sister, Jill, and she's missing. So as soon as I found out who I was, I went on a mission to find my missing twin sister. So since then, I actually found the real Paul.
Wow.
My mom got to connect with him before he passed away from cancer. Timing is everything, right? As soon as he found out who he was diagnosed with cancer. And then
Wow.
COVID hit. So it was like a double whammy. My mom got to talk to him a couple of times, and then before he passed away, she got to say goodbye to him. So my mission was complete there because I started this whole thing to find that guy.
Mhm.
And then I wanted to find out who I was. And now we're still trying to find my missing twin sister.
Oh my gosh.
And so that alone is a whole bunch of, if you get a chance, check out the podcast or watch the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, watch the movie. What
Yeah, my head's like
on
spinning.
Max still? HBO?
There's,
Did they go
it-
back to HBO now?
yeah, it's on HBO. It's called The
Did
Lost
you
Sons.
did you find your birth parents?
Yeah.
You did. And they
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know anything about where Jill is either.
They're both passed away.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
My parents they were bad people.
They were not good.
Yeah, they were very bad.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Okay. Do you
Yeah,
have
you got to watch the movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna
So when you mentioned abandonment, I was like, yeah, totally. It's a huge part of my background.
Do you know when do you have any information before the stroller? No. Probably not.
I've got bits and pieces. Yeah, like they kept us in cages. We were separated. We actually have an eyewitness account from a babysitter who watched us one night. She just did the podcast. It just came out Tuesday,
No
2 days
way.
ago.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So if you get a chance, watch that one.
Wow.
Susan Woolard was the babysitter. She spent one night with us, and
Yeah.
it changed her life completely.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, your mom didn't tell her there were babies upstairs because there's
Yeah.
three other siblings, and they just pretended like they had 3 kids.
Yeah, they just had us upstairs with no food, no water, dirty diapers, and a darkened room in separate cribs. I had a black eye.
And then you were a year and a half old when you were in the stroller?
Almost 2, yeah.
You're almost 2.
Almost 2.
July
Oh,
2nd.
it's so heartbreaking. I can't for baby Jack.
That
And
is mind blowing.
Yeah, it's a good story.
unbelievable, right? Well, yeah, it's Yeah, so now let's go back to the charts and figure out
Oh, I've been
what
doing charts.
the
Where's Jill? We got to find Jill.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Yes. All right. We
I
got
don't know. It's like, what do we do with that? Is there anything like, do you ever do cases? I know you do events, and that's why I was like, oh my gosh, I always forget that the other Paul Fronczak got cancer immediately after finding out.
And he died. Yeah.
He
He died
did.
a day before his birthday, April 25th. His birthday was April 26th.
Wow.
It's crazy.
In his life, like,
So you were a year and a half old when you were found in
no,
the
almost 2. Like,
Almost two. Yeah.
almost two.
was
Yeah.
it in the summer? Or
Yeah. It was, I was abandoned. Well, here's where the plot thickens. So the police said that they put out a big campaign when I was abandoned to try to get someone to claim me, whatever. We can't find any trace of that.
oh,
And all the documents said I was abandoned on July 2nd, but
Yeah.
my team just uncovered one article that said it was actually July 7th that I was abandoned. So there's a major cover up there. When I went to open a missing persons case on my missing twin sister in Atlantic City a few years ago, the detective gave me a fake missing persons case number and never opened the case. Yep.
it's not the
A
There.
lot of
best
a
cover
lot
up.
of twists and turns in this story.
They keep going. And if you read the books, I mean, it's unbelievable. We haven't even said half of it, I feel like.
Yeah, that's just a very Cliff Note version.
Yeah, this is super Cliff Notey. Everybody's got
Yeah.
to read the books and watch the movie. Now the podcast seems like gold.
Oh my gosh.
'Cause is the intern nurse around?
She's in the documentary, but she wasn't able to do the podcast. I talked to her daughter.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. That's right. She's in the movie.
She's in the
When were
movie.
you
Yeah.
placed with the Fronczaks?
That was November of 66.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just geeking out over this. I can
Oh,
show
that's okay.
you
Yeah,
want. This
sure.
is so when we look at the natal chart, what we can do is we can put that in the center and then we can put the transits, which is like what's going on in the sky at whatever moment it is. So like now, for instance, we just entered Leo season. It's about to be a new moon, so the moon's catching up to the sun right now. Like this is right now. But if we go here and we go like November 1st, 1966, this was kind of like the astrological weather, so to speak, of November 1st. I just put that in. When we're looking at the astrological weather in the sky for when you were placed, there are a lot of significant elements going on. So the outer planets moving more slowly than the inner planets, they have time to build themes. Basically, we think of Jupiter or Saturn as the beginning of the outer planets, the slower moving planets, and you have Jupiter moving into your 8th house. So we're talking about like a big transition as Jupiter. Be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. All that glitters is not gold, but also Jupiter can be like big expansive opportunity. So it's like the planet of luck and good fortune, but also be careful how you use that luck and good fortune. And it's moving into your 8th house, this like occult area. So it's almost like Jupiter being almost the second sun of our solar system, this big presence within this area of the occult. It's like your identity expanding into this kind of like realm of like secrecy and shadows. And, you know, it's funny too, because they talk about the second house is the house of personal resources and the 8th house is the house of other people's resources. And you were placed into another like a completely different family. Like in a way, it's almost like symbolic of you moving into a new identity within that family, within to another person's resources, resource meaning family. Like you were now tasked by as being Paul. And then to have Mars, which is the planet of action, we look to the slower moving planets. So Mercury, Venus, Mars, also the sun and the moon, as triggers or something that like initiates the action. So Mars initiating that action on top of your Pluto in the 8th house, it's like this willing energy willing that Pluto into its own expansion. So that wound in that house of secrecy and shadows and things like that, it's almost saying like, all right, it's go time. Like this is when this is going to actually happen. Like Whew, it's very powerful. And then at the same time, we're talking about it's basically right around your birthday. So the other thing we can do is pull your solar return chart for that year. And what's kind of like really sad about it too is there's a traditional astrology technique called perfection years. So like the first year of your life until you're 1 years old, you're really dealing with the first house, which is like vitality, identity, like the right to be here, that life force energy of Aries. Second house is your second year of life. So age 1 to 2. Third house is the third year of life. So we're talking about 1966, and it was right after your birthday. You had just turned 3. So we're going into the fourth house year. So themes of planting your roots, feeling grounded, feeling at home. And it feels very much, you have Aries right there on the cusp. So it being a war to feel at home, everything kind of feeling all like you said, you never really felt like Paul. Like you could always kind of tell that wasn't who you really were at your deepest identity. Like you could feel the turmoil that was within your roots, and moving it into that year, Mars being the ruler of that year, it's called the Time Lord, because you're in a fourth house perfection year. So Mars takes on significant importance. The other thing we see happening in the sky, it's November 1st, so it could have been a different day that year. However, it's going to be pretty close to this. Mercury on your Mars. So somebody communicating, the group communicating, some sort of group of people, the police, the FBI, somebody putting that communication onto your Mars, onto your vital energy. That also being in Sagittarius, being very much identified with your lens with which you see the world, your ability to exist and be, a life force out in the world. They're kind of coming down on you, almost like eclipsing you in a way. We use the term called mercurializing. So in a positive way, it can be like inquisitive or really make you think a lot, but in a negative way, it can confuse or fluster. So it's almost like their action was flustering your identity. Like this chart here almost more, to me, more obviously speaks to what was going on. The charts from July, I'll show it to you. July 2nd, 1964, right?
60,
No.
65.
This one, it's interesting because it's still a lot going on. However, you're still kind of in some of the similar placements to babyhood. Maybe we could talk about your Neptune in the sky crossing over your Venus, kind of dissolving that sense of balance, that sense of attachment. Venus can have to do with attachment, with affection. It's dissolving that in your world. Like there was something going on where you were left, that return to equilibrium going on. Yeah, and then the seventh, it's only going to be a tiny bit different. We can see Mars moving a little bit. You see from 2 to 4 degrees right here. The sun
Yeah.
move a little bit. Like all of the inner planets are going to move a little bit. The moon's going to move most notably. But basically between those 2 dates, if we narrowed it down, we could like really dive in. But there's a lot here saying that this Neptune dissolving is really what was happening. And again, everyone goes through certain, well, not everyone, Neptune doesn't hit everyone's Venus. It's a once in a lifetime transit though, because Neptune takes so long to get around the entire zodiac. So not everyone who has Neptune cross over their natal Venus is going to have the same situation as you. However, unfortunately, this is a lower expression of how it ended up playing out, that energy.
It's fitting. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't completely convinced of it, but now I'm like, actually, now that we talked it out, yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
like
pretty cool.
that is, it's cool, but like for you, Jenna, and hearing all this, what is do you think is the most helpful thing you could impart to Jack on his journey to find Jill? Just knowing the story now.
Usually when I have
Love this challenge.
Yeah, usually we're not looking for someone. Usually we've found the person and a lot of big emotions are coming up. Like my specialty is more the intense feelings during early reunion, things that can lead to complete breakdowns versus breakthroughs. I do a lot of work with people who experience genetic sexual attraction and things like that. But again, all of those kind of demand that you're in reunion, not that you're looking towards reunion. The one thing I would say that just feels more like an intuitive hit is there's got to be somebody that can help you with this, some partner, somebody that is able to take on this mission and feel passionate about it and feel as though it's part of their work too, that could be utilized in this situation. And the way that you either find them or the resource that they bring to the table is going to be very unexpected. The way it comes through is going to be very unexpected, that unexpected side of the second house. And part of me also thinks that you have more resources than you realize. I don't know if that resonates. I think there's something that might have been either overlooked or not fully dissected that maybe there's more information with. And I don't want to, you have so much Scorpio that it's almost like it was not good for me to say that, because Scorpio can almost stare so intensely that it becomes crazy making, but that is not my goal in that.
That's funny.
Yeah, but I wonder too, because that whole idea of the placement that you guys have that's different, Jill, with Chiron moving into the third house, that wound in the house of siblings. Like, I wonder if the reason that you are the one looking for her, but who knows, she could be looking for you too, is because she is so wounded in this area that would actually impart some sort of soul retrieval on her to simply be found. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I talked to two different psychics who didn't know each other, and they both said the same thing, that she doesn't know who she is, and she's being held against her will, and she's waiting for me to find her.
Wow.
What?
And she was also the smaller twin,
Yeah.
and my parents abused us a lot. And like at first they thought the relatives that I actually met, they thought that my parents might have actually accidentally killed her.
Oh,
And that's why they abandoned me, because I couldn't explain one twin around the house. So that's the original theory I had, but I've since changed it because I'd rather think that she's alive. She just needs to be found.
wow.
Because the
And the
psychics also
psychics are
said that she
confirming
hasn't.
that she's
Yeah,
alive?
yeah. They also said that she hasn't crossed over.
Oh, I
Okay.
So
didn't.
that's good news.
Yeah, that is good news for
Especially when I
sure.
was digging that grave and the bones came out, and
I know.
it wasn't
I mean,
her. Thank
there's so
God.
much.
I
You
need
Yeah.
to
put
watch
so
all
much
these.
energy into this. Like, seriously, how you've been searching for her for over a decade.
I started this in 2012. Yeah. Well, I found out who I was in 2015. That's when I found out
Yeah.
I had a twin. Yeah. Yeah. So it's been 10
A
years
lot of,
now.
yeah,
Yeah.
energy and like the more you tell your story, the more people that hear it. Do you think the partnership thing has already been connected? Like, has he already met this partner, or is it somebody
You mean to
he
help?
or
Well, I have that whole team. I have a team of
I
amazing
know.
researchers, genetic
But do you think
genealogists.
that's it could be one of them, but, like, Jenna, do you think it's you can't tell if it's somebody that's already in the,
Uh, I'm
um
tempted to say that it might be because, okay, so 2015, you had that, you found out all your information, right? Ish.
I found out who it was. Yeah.
Yeah, who you are. Do you know the date?
Yeah.
Ish.
June 2nd.
In a second.
oh,
Yeah. 2015.
So at this time, this is again another once in a lifetime transit because Pluto only gets at most halfway around the zodiac because it's a 270 something year cycle, like it's very long. So Pluto, the god of hell and transformation, coming through your first house on your south node. So there's some giant kind of, it could be death, it could be rebirth. Death in the sense of transformation doesn't always have to be literal death, but it could have been death. Something coming across that's reigniting that past life story, that leadership element, that I'm out here on my own and I need to push through. And then to have, yeah, I feel like it could be someone that you already know that's going to end up helping you through this, because so Pluto right here, the weather in the sky on your south node. Now Pluto right here. Pluto's about to cross into your second house. There's going to be, generally, anytime Pluto changes houses, there's going to be huge transformations in that area. So seeing huge transformations in the realm of identity and who you are out in the world, your right to be here, discovering who you are is a huge, like, that's so literal for Pluto transiting through your first house, especially as it was conjunct your south node, activating that. Then to see Pluto here, It's going to we give about a 1.5-degree orb, so that your cusp here is almost at 4 degrees, but Pluto itself is at 2.5 degrees. So we would say that Pluto right now is moving, it's retrograde in the sky, but it is going pretty much in the direction of moving into your second house. So big changes, transformation, it could look like loss, but really it's a loss that's necessary to have some sort of a gain, where Pluto is going to completely transform your resources. It could have to do with like an inner journey, but it also could have to do with potentially something or someone showing up that can aid in this area. So I would potentially pay particular attention. Pluto, and it would be a person who has a very plutonic nature, someone really intense, someone who doesn't really flinch at your story, someone who doesn't really flinch at what they're trying to find out. Psychics, mystics, psychologists even, but like they have to be really intense ones, like psychiatrists, like Jungian philosophers. That level of plutonic person really could potentially aid in at least helping you to go in the right direction of where you need to look for these resources in order to have this soul retrieval. Because it does feel like the idea of partnership, I wonder if what your soul's mission could unfold to be is that partnership is Jill, is you and Jill working on your healing together.
That
Because
would be
it wasn't
amazing.
screaming romance for some reason at me. It was screaming like something more foundational almost.
That would be
Whoa.
amazing.
It would be. It would
Yeah,
be.
Yeah.
dude.
Jupiter in the sky right now is in Cancer. It's a 12-year cycle. So every 12 years, Jupiter is going through your seventh house. However, again, it's that good fortune and luck and, recognizing the opportunity and seizing the opportunity. Jupiter is considered a very benefic planet, but it's all about how you work it. So when you do get a lead, or when you do have a feeling like, okay, this could be something, really capturing that opportunity is important, particularly right now, as the gifts of Jupiter are imparted on your North Node, pulling you towards that evolution.
This is so cool. Hey, Autumn, so when everything works out, we come back to these charts, that could be like a huge advertisement for this, huh?
Yes, let's make that happen.
Yeah.
Jenna, if this was your story and you were Jack and you're a visionary, right? What would you do? Would
I mean,
be
you're already entertaining psychics, and that's where I would immediately go. Like, to the point where I almost was like, I should just text my psychic and be like, hey, do you have any intuitive hits right now? But the affirmation from people in the metaphysical realm, that's the only way that you've been able to assert something or affirm something within Jill and Jill's energy. I think that that's the right track. You've obviously done all the DNA banks, I'm sure. Right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
DNA. Oh my God. Yeah.
Okay. I
all of
wasn't
them?
sure if you just stopped at the one. And then I know that you said you have a whole team. So search angels, you're probably well beyond that at this point,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, I've got a really good team. I also have an ex Secret Service PI
Wow. Okay.
working with me. I mean, when I started this and I said I was going to find Paul, everyone said, you're crazy. You're not going to find a kid that was kidnapped 50 years ago. And then we find him.
Mhm.
So, I mean, there's nothing that we can't do.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. What about
Yeah.
the records from the agency or from anyone surrounding the events of the early or the mid 1960s? Like, I feel like even when you contact, when they're like, oh, we only have this, but there might be some clue in there. Like, you said you have the police records, right?
I've got the actual police file from the Chicago cops.
Okay. And then,
They actually sent me the actual file, everything handwritten and everything.
oh, like
Now,
the original.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
but
Okay.
but that was dealing with Paul. Now, on my end, supposedly everything was lost in a fire. So there's
Mm.
there's a lot of nefarious people
So when you
involved.
I would go
redacted,
down.
redacted,
What are you doing
redacted.
over here?
I've watched The Sopranos. I know what I'm dealing with, you guys. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Um,
why did you ask that?
I don't know. I don't know. You could show
Yeah.
up with like big ziti. No. Here. All right. I love it. Yeah. Let me think on that more. And do you mind if I reach out to my friend and ask?
No, it's fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
I feel
Please
like
do.
she might have some things to say.
Believe me, so George Knapp, the news guy I went to, he also does he co-hosts uh, Coast to Coast AM. So
Mm.
I did 4 or 5 episodes of that, the radio show,
Hmm.
and through that we did some remote viewing with people.
Mhm.
I mean, we've tried all kinds of, I've done two different hypnotherapists.
Mhm.
I'm trying to find a real one that could actually take me back to
Mhm.
when I was in that situation. Because I want to regress back to that time.
Oh,
Breath work. Have you
yeah.
done breath work?
I don't know.
Autumn, connect him with Bruce.
Okay.
Our adoptee friend Bruce did holotropic breath work where he regressed completely back into his crib and like basically watched his entire body. Like it was very visceral and it was like he
That's what I want to do.
yes, and
Okay.
he did
How
it
did
through breath
did
work.
he can he yeah, he's not the therapist that does it.
No, but he could connect you with
And
where he went.
he
And
was able to access it with and he knows the person that came.
yeah, and full disclaimer, he went really dark, really deep, really intense. He's like a normal dude, like an engineer and like
He's
has
great. Yeah.
he's an awesome dude. The other people at the breath work weren't able, they were like, what? Like they were very blown away by it. So I know it's like on an individual level. However, I would trust him to go wherever he went just because he had such a deep experience with it.
That
I
sounds
had a
great. Yeah.
What about psychedelics?
oh yeah. Have you done
I,
drugs?
I was
I think that could potentially open some things up too if the breath work doesn't. I mean, I've done it for trauma recovery and I completely regressed into the incubator thing at the hospital.
What?
Yeah, it was intense. And I watched the nurse give me this very like angry but also like I don't care about you look where she was just disgusted with me as I screamed there. And when I came out of it, I was like, oh my God, that look that that nurse gave me is a reoccurring dream I've had, but I give it to my parents, give me the look. My boyfriend gives me the look. It's always like somebody's abandoning me and I see them somewhere and they just look at me like they don't give a crap about me. But after I had that full regression and realized that that look came from birth, came from that nurse not caring about me as I got my primal wound at the same time, my nightmares stopped. I haven't had one since, and that was like 3 years ago. So I am all for
that's
recreational use of to recall, to bring yourself back there and see things that perhaps your psyche's protecting you from. However, I'm okay with pushing the envelope. You have a lot of Scorpio. You're probably okay with pushing the envelope.
absolutely. And I want to go back to that time when the babysitter actually saw us because there's not one picture of Jill.
Mm.
My parents and grandparents made Jack and Jill just vanish. There's no pictures of us. And if I can see her, I mean, I spent 2 years next to her, and they had us in cages sometimes or separate cribs.
Mm.
If I can just see her, that might make it easier to maybe have a connection with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think so.
And also, if I can go back to that time, maybe I was there when something happened to her.
Hmm.
I might have heard
You
something,
were.
or,
I'm sure you were there.
but I mean, I'd like be able to go back and grab that.
Yes. 100%. Jenna, is
Yeah.
your incubator story verifiable at all? Like from somebody else you were in the NICU or something?
I wasn't even held by my birth mom. I was just
Or you were in one of those for
yes.
sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%. And I remember too, I've seen a couple pictures of them too. And every so often, if I see a certain picture, if it's a certain way, like I get a very visceral reaction. So I know that there's some level of a memory
Yes.
somewhere
Yeah,
in
that's
there.
what I meant. Just that, like, yeah, that's where you went. You weren't in your mom's arms. You were.
Oh
If you're
no,
not, like, you're
no.
in the hospital, you're in one of those, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was. And by the time they placed me, I was only 5 days old when they placed me and I got placed right into my adoptive family, but I already was like very
Oh, those 5 days.
dissociated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that like that period of like high arousal activation and having that huge amount of energy release
Yes.
was
That's
at the hospital. Because my parents were like, you were such a good baby. Like you never cried. You also never made eye contact. So
that's
yeah.
what a
And so
trauma
I
baby
read
does.
I read a lot I read a lot of different articles on hypnotherapy and stuff, and they said that our brain takes snapshots of everything before we're even born, but we really don't have a way to access that.
Mm,
So if we could find a way to tap into that, I think it would be just amazing.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
found it's
Yeah.
individual. I'm
How
very
did
grateful.
you get it to work? Did you just like, and it was days later. So like,
That was unexpected. It was
it was
the
just
first
random.
the first time I did it, I was like, this was so great. I'm learning so much about myself. Like, I can't believe it. And then 3 weeks later, I was like, okay, I want more. And in that time we took it and it was like a train. Like, okay, so I'm on the trauma tracks and I'm walking along And the first time I took it, it's like a train came up and like started pushing me down the tracks. And I'm like, oh, I'm moving so much faster through my shit. And like I'm leveling up and I'm having these epiphanies about like my relationships and the way I have blockages around intimacy. And I'm like moving through all that. And then I was like, well, if one's good, two must be great. And I took it again. And it was like that same train just ran over me. And I was like, okay, this is not good. I'm actually like pushing myself into crisis now. So yeah.
But that crisis unlocked the memory.
Exactly. So it's like I'm grateful for it. It's the whole like, do you want a breakdown or a breakthrough? That's the kind of way of thinking about it. And I was because the line between those is very thin.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the tea. What's it called? The drug
Oh, ayahuasca.
ayahuasca. That's the point, right? It's gonna break you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
You're
then
gonna not feel good.
but then you feel amazing and different and better.
Yeah.
It resets you. It's like a reset, but it's different from like regressing and accessing memories that are pre-verbal.
Yeah.
That's the best thing. It's not wow.
Sometimes some certain things work for some people. Like
You're really piquing my interest here.
We better have
swear
a
by
psychologist.
I'm glad we did this call, this
yeah.
the show, because it's sliding doors, right? You walk through something and all of a sudden more doors open up.
100%.
That's why I was like, I don't know what we're doing, but we're doing something.
Yeah, it once again, Autumn, it paid off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
This is so fun.
Yeah.
This is fun. Yeah, I really appreciate the time today.
Yeah. And let me know if you have any questions or you need connections with people for.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do.
And
Yeah.
tell us
And,
where people can find you.
yeah.
Well, I mean, we'll link it all in the show notes, but
Yeah, the Fronczak Files.
.com.
And if you like it, subscribe to it. It's nice to meet you, Jenna.
Nice to meet you too, Jack.
Great to see you, Autumn, as always.
You too.
And let's stay in touch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
we
check
should
out
do
the Fronczak Files.
Yes. I can't wait now.
Thank you so much.
I'll
All
see you
right.
guys.